This is the Boulies MX Master, and it's a hybrid gaming/office chair from UK company Boulies. And as somebody who's been working from home for around a decade now, I know that ergonomics are incredibly important. In fact, ever since I started creating content for YouTube, I've spent so much more time on my computer. Now usually I stand at my desk if I can, but when I need to take a seat, it's nice to have a good quality, comfortable, and most importantly ergonomic chair to fall back on. The last chair I bought was secondhand, and even then I spent around $300 on it. It was a steel case Please. And that chair was fine, it was very comfortable, but it was already falling apart when I got it. And I've had it for a few years now, and yeah, let's just say I kinda needed to move on. So when Boulies reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review one of their chairs, I of course said yes. And I want to thank them for sending me this chair to review, and I want to tell you that they've had no influence over this video or its content, nor have they seen it before it's gone live. And so the very first thing I noticed about this chair, or rather the box, was that it was absolutely massive and incredibly heavy. But thankfully I was able to get it up into my upstairs apartment and unbox it. My first impressions were that it was incredibly heavy. This chair is substantially heavier than my steel case Please. And that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, I'll return to this point a little bit later. Also, the upholstery seemed very, very high quality, and the chair itself looks great in this ash grey colour. Also noticeable was the large amount of metal in the build. Even the arms themselves are made of metal, and I really appreciate that. I've always shied away from gaming chairs, the kind of racing ones, because if I'm sat at my desk, odds are I'm working, not gaming. But the MX Master is billed as a hybrid gaming/office chair, and I think it fits the bill really well. It has a kind of subtle and yet distinct look. It's not as boring as like an old net office chair, although I do like those. But it also doesn't have the big kind of F1 rally racing aesthetic, which I really appreciate. And I do feel like it takes some of the great DNA of gaming chairs and applies it in a more reserved way. The chair is very, very comfortable. And something I was really happy to find was that the seat itself is very firm, because actually you don't want a soft seat for your chair. It's unergonomic and it'll wreck your hips, back, and thighs. What you need is a firm yet comfortable seat, and this is just that. The chair also has 4D armrests, which means that they can move up, down, forward, backwards, in and out, and they can rotate left and right. And another thing I really like about the armrests is that you can remove them completely if you want to, or you can move them in or out at the screw level. So these can really be adjusted to your absolute preference. Now I will probably end up removing these armrests because I think that's the most ergonomic. But some chairs don't even have that option, so I'm really glad to see it here. And to be honest, the armrests are so nice and so well built, and the construction is so solid that it kind of feels like a waste to take them off, so I've just kept them on for now. And when it comes to adjustability, the MX Master has droves of it. You can of course raise and lower the seat, and you can also set the seat to tilt back and forward as well as adjusting how sensitive that tilting is. And then you can also use the lever on the right hand side to decline the back of the seat all the way back into quite literally a laying down position. I gotta say, this is pretty luxurious to me. I've never had a chair that does this. And I gotta admit, I do really love this feature. If I ever need to take a break, I just tilt the chair all the way back, grab a retro handheld, and take a break. And you know, maybe even fall asleep. It really is that comfortable. The MX Master does sit pretty close to the floor, and it doesn't get very high either. And I have to admit something here that may alienate some of my viewers, and that is that I am incredibly, unfortunately, very short. And so this size of chair really works perfectly for me. But if you need something bigger, there's also the MX Master Max, which is a taller version of the same chair. And the final adjustability of this chair is the lumbar support. And I personally consider lumbar support to be incredibly important in a chair. And this might just be the best of its kind I've ever seen. You have these two dials on the sides of the chair that allow you to move the lumbar support up, down, back and forward underneath the upholstery. And this is really good for fine-tuning the seat to exactly where you need it to be, so that you can sit back straight up in the chair with your back supported. And once you've got all that dialed in, you can then take this attachable cushion that they include in the box, hook it over the back of the chair, and you get an easily adjustable neck support as well. Overall, I find the Boulies MX Master chair to be a fantastic hybrid of a gaming and office chair. Of course that doesn't really matter, because what's the difference between chair A and chair B other than aesthetics? And I think as long as the chair nails the ergonomics and lets you sit in a way that's comfortable and healthy, and maybe lets you catch some Z's sometimes, I think that's a really good thing. And another thing I just want to mention about this chair, and this isn't a detriment or anything, it's just something to be aware of. I live in an upstairs apartment and I take great care not to disturb my downstairs neighbors. And so I usually use silent casters. And I will say that the casters on this chair are not silent at all. They're not the loudest I've ever used, but they're certainly not silent either. Now there are just a few things that I don't like so much about this chair that I want to go over as well. But I will say that none of it is related to comfort, which is a really good thing. First of all, let me get my pettiness out of the way. I really hate this label on the seat. I think it's a really ugly, distracting place to put the label, and I would have preferred it maybe on the back, or just anywhere that's out of sight. It's just kind of weird to sit on the label. I don't know. That's weird, I know. The second is the dials for adjusting the lumbar support. Because whereas they work perfectly, they're kind of hard to reach in the place that you would need to reach them the most. If you're sitting in this chair and you want to adjust the lumbar support, you want to be in a natural position, but you actually need to reach back and twist them around and try and get it right. This is fine if you have somebody else to help you that you can direct, but for doing it by yourself, it's kind of annoying. And then there's the levers for the height and the tilt mechanism. They work perfectly well, but you don't pull them up toward the seat like you might expect. You actually have to tilt them backwards. And from a sitting position, it's just kind of awkward. And then the levers themselves feel kind of flimsy. I don't think they're necessarily going to break, but they don't feel particularly solid like the rest of the chair does. And the final dislike for this chair is just that there seems to be something underneath the upholstery on the back. This is absolutely not an issue at all. It just kind of looks strange and I wonder what it is. Maybe something to do with the lumbar support. All in all, I really love this chair actually, and I'm really happy to test out a product from an English company. And I think they really did nail the overall ergonomic design of this chair. And I've been really happy with it over the last few weeks. And the crazy thing about this is it actually sells for less than I purchased my second-hand Steelcase Please, and I have to say this is a far superior chair. And the thing is that there seems to be this thing going around that you need to spend thousands of dollars on a chair just to make it ergonomic. And I used to think that too, which is why I always bought second-hand. But the MX Master has really showed me that that is not the case at all. You can definitely get a chair that is much cheaper by like 3 or 4 times, and still get an incredibly comfortable and ergonomic chair. And if you're in the market for a new chair, I think the Boulies designs are really good actually. This isn't the same type of ultra cheap chair you're gonna find on Amazon, or even the not so cheap but just straight rip-off chairs you might also find on Amazon. This is a legitimately really well made, well thought out chair. And I really recommend it. And actually, Boulies is currently having their Black Friday sales already. They've already been on for a few weeks, so you can get the MX Master or any of their other chairs for a heavily discounted price. I'll leave links in the description box below for you to check that out if you're interested. And please do let me know in the comment box below if you have any questions about this particular chair, and I'll be sure to answer them. Do not, however, leave a comment asking for my exact height because it will go unanswered. And that's this one done. Thank you very much for watching Retro Breeze, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.